22 seconds on the power play. Shot a goal, rebound shot, he scores! King in front of the net like he's done all game, buries that rebound 2-0.
What a great job by the Cougars. A really good chance there. Just had to tap it in, but he couldn't.
On the Prowl, keeping up with the Mount Royal University Cougars.
Welcome back to Keeping Up with the MRU Cougars on the Prowl. University athletics, of course, the topic at hand. Welcome to Sportsnet 960 The Fan. We're talking university athletics. We've come back from winter holidays. We're refreshed. The players are refreshed. And we're going to be specifically getting into the conversation of volleyball. And we have a few women's volleyball guests to come in. But before we get to that, we're going to have a Cougar recap. I'm Dylan Dodge, host of On the Prowl, joined by Jordan Magnuson. Jordan, how'd your winter break go?
You know what, Dylan? I had a solid break, but it's time for some athletic action here. We have the second half of the season for all sports teams here at Mount Royal University ready to go. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the first half in review.
He's got the ball right now. Tyus Yellowhorn. He's got Leighton in the post. He opts to go to Wolf instead. Lefebvre's down low. Yellowhorn has the ball again with 12 on the shot clock. Pitches that one out over to his right-hand side. Back down again. Yellowhorn looking to draw the lane, dishes that one off to the three-point shot coming in from Wolf. He gets nothing but net. 29-21.
There can only be one.
Trying to break out on the Cougars. Can they get out of the zone? It looks like no, they can't. And it's going to be the Dinos fortunning again. Wide open in front. The captain shot. Big save coming in from Pincock. Reading that one-timer perfectly. He's going to go over the left-hand side of Sigsworth. Good strip of the ball. Reading that one is Driscoll. She's going to come down, looking to get the lay-in to go. She nails that one, and that will be 16-7 in favor of the Mount Royal Cougars. Coming forward, here comes Carver. Stops her trying to do a spin move. She finds it. Here's Wenninger. Wenninger into a slot. Shot! She scores! Mount Royal Cougars win this game in overtime. Inbounded by the Timberwolves, and there you have it. Get those 2 points up there. That's a win for the Mount Royal Cougars.
A big congratulations.
So now it's time for the second half of the CIS season. We're going to start things off with women's basketball. And you know what? It wasn't the first half that the women's basketball squad won. 1-7, currently in the basement, tied with UNBC. They've also got a hard record with a hard matchup, coming up here against the University of the Fraser Valley. Man, what do they need to do to improve the second half of the season?
Well, I think they need to do what they continue to do against the T-Wolves. They were really a fast team. They dominated. They lost the lead in the first game, but the second game they made sure to keep the foot down on the gas pedal and keep going. And UFV, you talk about it being a hard matchup. They're 4-4 this year. They're within reach of the Cougars if they can put together a rally of wins.
All right, it's officially time for the second half of the CIS season. We're going to first touch up on the women's basketball side, and they started off 0-7. They finally won that last game back in December, but a break in between. What do these guys need to do now to get out of that basement over in the Explorer Division?
Well, they need to keep up the pressure like they did against the Timberwolves. There was a high amount of pressure, led to turnovers, and the Cougars could have really won both games there. They blew the lead in the first one, but made sure to keep up that pressure, keep the foot down on the gas, and win against the UNBC Timberwolves. What they need to do is continue that pressure defensively, and then the offense will follow. Driscoll, numerous steals, and she wasn't the only one. The team really rallied off of that, and that led to extra points that resulted in a win. And UFV, tough opponent, but they're only 4-4, and they come in losing their last two games. So the Cougars actually are on a streak hotter than their opponents right now, which is something that maybe they're not used to, but they got to ride that momentum and really turn around this season. And I think Nate McKibben will really be wanting a lot out of his team early on in the second half.
University of the Fraser Valley Cascades, Mount Royal Cougars will be taking them on the basketball side coming in January 8th and 9th. Same thing with the men's basketball. They finally won their last game of the December, the first half of the break, but again, they started off quite slow, 2-6. They've got a tough matchup against the Cascades as well.
The Cascades are going to be a very tough matchup, and they're in a really tough division this year. You look at the Wolfpack, even the Timberwolves, who they just played against, very tough sides, and they're going to have to continue that pressure. Last year we saw 10-10 was not a record to make the playoffs, and I doubt it will be this year. And it's going to be a tough battle, but I'm starting to see really positives coming out of these rookies. You're starting to see great play from Yellowhorn, from Yang. You're starting to see the senior players really lead it with Wolf and Lefebvre. And then you're also going to have Noah Lewis coming back in the lineup. That's going to really help. Overall, I think there's going to be a lot of positives for this men's side, and they're going to have to ride them to the max in order to make playoffs.
All right, let's switch our focus from the court over onto the ice, and this is one of the biggest months for women's and men's ice hockey. Of course, the biggest event of the year, that is the Crowchild Classic over at the Scotiabank Saddledome on January 21st. Let's talk about the women's side first. 8-7-1. That's their best record by far in the CIS. Is this sustainable?
Well, sitting in that final playoff spot, it's really going to come down to consistency, and that really comes from the back end out. I'm a big advocate of defense, obviously, but the goaltending situation at Mount Royal, you alluded to it during a fast break, needs to be solved. I don't think you can ride two goalies, but Pincott and Ross doing absolutely unbelievable. They need to pick one, though, because I think having those two goalies, we've seen it not work in the NHL with the Flames, more or less, and I think there might be a similar problem if they can't pick a number one.
They'll be facing the UBC Thunderbirds January 8th and 9th. Same thing with the men's hockey. Of course, they made the playoffs last season. They got out of that first round. They're trying to get back and do even better this time around. 9-5-1 is the current record. They're 6 behind the number 1 ranked University of Saskatchewan Huskies. They're in a heck of a division. What do they need to do to get that playoff spot?
Well, I think going back to our interview with Colin Cooper before the winter break, we talked to him, and he said that, there isn't a team that's really dominant right now. Yes, the Huskies are top. They've had a great season, but I think it's anybody's chance to win. And I think that is very evident. Only 6 back, and they're only 1 ahead of UBC, so it's a very close division. I think the scoring needs to really continue, because right now, Mount Royal relying heavily on their goalies, both men's and women's hockey. Cooper doing a great job here. His numbers have taken a bit of a hit recently, but, playing up against tough opponents, you expect that. Right now, though, they need to keep the offensive side of things hot, because that can help with the defense. If you have a big advantage, 3 or 4 goals every night, then that's going to make the defense's job a lot easier.
All right, let's shift our focus back over to the courts on the Prowl. Of course, it is a volleyball focus this time around. The teams are hosting an annual community event on January 8th called Toupee for a Day, where people are invited to wear toupee to proudly support anyone with types of cancer at any points in their journey, as well as caregivers and loved ones. There'll also be fundraisers at the game. First off, men's volleyball taking part in that action. They're currently 5-7. We have a brand new look team for the Mount Royal Cougars, but they've played this first half of the season now. They've got the chemistry there. They need to expand on this if they have any chance of making the playoffs. Of course, head coach Sean Skye was saying that his team needs to be a national contender, not a playoff bubble team. That's kind of where they're at right now, is that playoff bubble. He's obviously looking for his team to improve, but you know what? They started off 1-7. They finished off the season 3-0 in the first half. They're starting to take those steps to become a playoff dominant team. What about the women's side?
Women's volleyball, also a bubble team, in all honesty, Jordan. They don't want to be, but I think that's where they're sitting right now. And Coach Lamb has some work to do, but I think they're going to come out quite strong. First half highlight, definitely beating number 6 in Canada, UBC Thunderbirds. And you actually had a chance to sit down with 2 of the players that were a part of that win, Amy Gordon and Nicole Smith.
All right, I'm here with Amy Gordon and Nicole Smith, both players for the Women's Mount Royal Cougars, and they're here at the exact same time trying up something different here on the Prowl. How's it going?
Going good. Good. How are you?
Good. Let's distinct your voice. So which one of you is Amy?
I'm Amy. I'm Nicole.
Awesome. So let's
Same
talk
voice.
about the same voice, almost the exact same. Can tell. Let's talk about the season so far. How are you guys living up to expectations that you gave for yourself at the start of the season?
Yeah, I think it's been a super good season so far. Obviously, our expectations were super high coming in. Having a pretty tough season last year obviously just made us even more hungry for this year. And I think we've been really stepping up and getting gritty.
We kind of went into the season with just the expectation and hope to get better every day and every game. And I think we've done a really great job at committing to that and working really hard.
And Nicole, you've been actually with the team for 3 seasons now, and you've seen from no playoffs just yet, and then this is the team that might actually take the Cougars there. Mm-hmm. What's been different about this team than previous teams you played on?
We've worked really hard on our mindsets and just the environment that we've been fostering. And this year especially, I feel as though everyone's really bought in and we're all on the same page and just kind of chipping away towards our ultimate goal for sure of playoffs.
And one of the pinnacles was you guys went over to UBC and you guys actually beat the Thunderbirds, ranked 6th in the country. Tell me about that experience and what was it like to taking down one of those elite teams?
I think it was a really awesome experience. I don't like when people use the term underdogs with us. They're like, oh, yeah, that was a huge underdog win. But really it wasn't. We worked super hard in the gym all week, and I think we totally deserved that win. It was just such a good feeling, just left a really good taste in our mouth going into the break. And yeah, it was super awesome and like so much fun to just be able to battle it out on the court with those girls.
I think that was a really pivotal moment for us as a team and as a group to really convince ourselves of our skills and our abilities for this year and really show the rest of the teams in the CIS that we aren't the underdogs. We're not a team to be taken lightly, and that's just kind of an expectation that we're hoping to uphold and keep working towards.
I'm here with Amy Gordon and Nicole Smith. What is the one or two key strengths that the women's Mount Royal Cougars have stronger than any other team out there? What separates you guys from any other team?
I think our grit. I think it's one of the main things that we have as a team. So when we play wash in practice, like you look across the net and you're like, I want to kill her. And we're just so dedicated to keep that ball off the floor. Everyone's just running through walls, just doing anything they can to have the other girls back on their side of the net. And I think that's a thing a lot of teams don't have. They just maybe have skill but no grit. And I think we have just pure grit behind our game.
A lot of the CIS teams, too, have the big, massive outsides, the 6'3s, the 6'4s, that really their job is to terminate the ball. And we've got big outsides that really work hard and do damage. However, like Amy said, we're gritty and we work. And I think that's the most frustrating things for teams playing us is that their big guns get up there and try and just terminate the ball, and someone's always right there keeping it off the floor. And as an outside, that's pretty frustrating.
Let's talk about those tall buddies up front. So you obviously Paland and Podalecki and Nalongi as well. Like they're huge assets that I don't think the Cougars have had over recent years of being able to find that person that can consistently kill the ball. What's it like to have like 3+ of those players that can get the job done there?
I mean, I agree that Taylor, Carolina, and Robin are all big guns. Alex Donaghy helps us out a ton this year. It's super awesome to have that outlet, especially as a setter, to be able to know, okay, I can set pretty much wherever right now and someone's going to put the ball away. I think it's mostly important, yeah, those are really good 4 players, but we've got really good 12 players, 13 players, 14 players. And I think that's just mostly important in practice. Like, it's super awesome to be able to fight against each other, and as a setter going into a game knowing that you have 5 really good options to set in this play and you don't need to keep going back to the same person over and over again, which is just a super awesome feeling.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about having depth this year, and I think that's exactly what our team has. You can look at the girl beside you and know that, if I'm dropping the ball tonight, I've got 3 girls behind me that are going to pick up my slack and have my back. And that's not a negative thing, and that's what we've really worked towards this year, and I think everyone's really accepted that getting subbed off the court isn't a negative thing. You're turning to the next girl beside you and being like, okay, pick me up, let's go to work. Like, you've got this and I've got your back just like you've got mine.
I'm here with Amy Gordon and Nicole Smith, both players for the women's Mount Royal Cougars volleyball squad. And how many months of practice or of play do you have here until you start focusing in on where you're at with the standings then? Like, when do you start putting yourself into perspective according to other teams?
I think we're constantly doing that every day. I think it's something that runs through everyone's mind a lot. I know we're all looking it up to see where we're standing. Yeah, I don't know. I think each and every day we're striving towards that playoff spot. So that's never out of our sight. We're never just thinking about, okay, we got to get a certain amount of wins to get playoffs. We look at each weekend. We actually break each weekend into a period of 3 games and set a goal for ourselves. So we see the next 3 coming teams and we set a 2 out of 3 goal or a 3 out of 3 goal for us, which I think is super important this year to just break up the year and make that goal a little bit more attainable.
Amy and Nicole, thanks for joining us on the Sportsnet The Fan 960. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks,
you too.
That is it for this week's edition of On the Prowl. Of course, thank you to our sponsors, MRU Broadcasting and Amy Gordon and Nicole Smith for sitting down and talking to me about this. Next week, we've got a heck of a show going on. We got the Crowchild Classic, University of Calgary Dinos taking on the Mount Royal Cougars over at the Scotiabank Saddledome. You and I, Dylan, actually will be doing play-by-play in color, and even producer Spencer over there somehow got a promotion and gets to do camera work for that. So we're excited to see that one. I'm Jordan Magnuson.
And I'm Dylan Dodge. And once again, thank you to our director, Landon Wesley, as well as our producer, Spencer Schultz. We hope you all listen next week. And like you said, some big, big news coming up in terms of the Crowchild Classic.